We all have a longing for the past, for the simple, analog world we left behind. But some doors are meant to stay closed. What happens when a forgotten object, a thing of plastic and magnetic tape, holds a future so terrible you'd do anything to erase it? Welcome to Dust and Echoes. My name is James Cawley, and every week I bring you a new original story. Stories drawn from that strange place where memory, myth, and the things we try not to name all intersect. Tonight's story takes us back to 1992, to a lonely apartment in Pocatello, Idaho, and to a sacred place that's now extinct, the neighborhood video rental store. This is a story about regret, the weight of terrible knowledge, and the deep-seated human desire to be more than a nobody, and what happens when a man, adrift in his own life, finds a mysterious, unlabeled VHS tape, and what he sees on the tape are things that haven't happened yet. A tape that comes with instructions that, if not followed, will change everything. I call this story Rewind. The buzzing of the fluorescent light over the kitchenette sink was the loudest sound in the apartment. The emptiness of the studio apartment seemed to press in. The beige walls were a perfect backdrop for a nobody's life. At 42, Clint was a man defined by his subtractions. One ex-wife, living in Boise, who had not spoken to him in months. One failed attempt at a sales career. One dwindling savings account. He was divorced, adrift, and living on Pocatello Avenue. The room smelled faintly of stale coffee and the pizza he would be ordering in an hour. But it was Friday, and Friday had a routine. He grabbed his keys from the chipped Formica counter. The metal jangled with a lonely sound. His denim jacket felt cool against his arms. He walked down the echoing concrete stairs to the parking lot. His '84 Ford Tempo sputtered to life. The radio crackled with a song he did not recognize. He pulled out onto the quiet streets of Pocatello, Idaho. Life moved slow here, and that was just fine with Clint. Slow was predictable. Slow was safe. His first stop was his church, his haven, Flick Pick Video. The small bell above the door chimed as he entered. It brought with it the holy smell of plastic VHS cases, industrial carpet, and a faint, dusty sweetness. The new releases wall was mobbed. Teenagers were grabbing copies of Wayne's World and Basic Instinct. Clint ignored them. He was a regular, a connoisseur of the strange and forgotten, guided by the store's high priest, Mr. Gable. Gable looked like he had been assembled from spare parts of old librarians. He was already waving him over. He was perched on his stool behind the counter, a mountain of returned tapes waiting to be rewound. "Forget the new stuff, Clint," Gable said, his voice a gravelly whisper. "I've got something for you. Something peculiar." Clint leaned against the counter. "Yeah? What is it, Mr. Gable? That Italian horror thing you were telling me about?" "Better." Gable ducked below the counter, his white hair disappearing for a moment. He emerged holding not a plastic clamshell or a cardboard sleeve, but a bare, black VHS tape. It felt illicit just looking at it. On the white sticker, written in thick blue ink, was a single word. Rewind. "You're not going to believe this one," Gable said, sliding it across the counter. It felt heavy. "Found it in the drop box a few days ago. Someone returned that new Western. The one with that Emilio guy. Young Guns. But this was in there instead. They must have put it in the case by accident. Checked the books. No name. No account. I watched it." Gable leaned in, his eyes bright. "Clint, it's wild. Some kind of art house film, maybe a film school project, weird as hell. No credits, no title, just stuff. That's why I thought of you." Clint turned the tape over in his hands. The plastic was worn. The sticker was peeling at the corner. It felt personal, like reading someone's diary. "You sure? Feels like prying almost." Gable waved him off. "Finders keepers. Just do me a favor and rewind it when you're done. Can't say I'm a superstitious guy, but after you watch that tape, you'll know why." You got it, Mr. Gable. And Clint? Gable called out as he turned to leave. Clint paused, tape in hand. This one. It's one of those hidden gems, the kind that changes how you see things. They're not for everyone. The drive to the pizza place was automatic. He got his usual large pepperoni. The cardboard box was warm on the passenger seat. The smell filled the car, a comforting fog against the creeping unease of the strange tape. Back in his apartment, the routine continued. He balanced the pizza on his coffee table. The TV flickered to life with the local evening news. He popped a beer. The sound of it opening was a small, happy punctuation mark. He sat on his worn couch. He took a bite of pizza. The cheese pull was perfect. He slid the tape into the slot of his monolithic VCR. The machine whirred, accepted the offering, and clicked into place. He pressed play. The screen was not black. It was static. A roaring, snowy field of noise that hissed from his TV speakers. He almost got up to check the tracking. But then a date appeared, typed in a simple white font. October 31st, 1992. Tomorrow. The static cleared. It was footage of the Idaho power plant, just outside town. Shaky. Handheld. Then, a massive explosion. A turbine housing, Clint guessed, shot through the roof like a mortar. It was followed by a plume of black smoke. The footage was grainy. The sound was a distorted whump that rattled his speakers. Weird, he thought. Some local kid's project? Impressive. The screen went to static. Then, a new date. November 3rd, 1992. Tuesday. It was a news broadcast, a familiar anchor.
Bill Clinton has just defeated George Bush to become the 42nd president of the United States.
The footage cut to a jubilant crowd. Red, white, and blue balloons. Clint sat up. Pizza forgotten. This was really weird. The election was next week and the polls were tight. This was not just a weird art film. This was political. Static. And then the tape just unspooled. The dates vanished. Images flooded the screen. Fast and disjointed. A nightmare montage of a world he did not recognize. He saw people panicking, staring at computer screens.
As the clock ticks down to the new millennia, the fear of the Y2K bug is escalating across the nation.
He saw computers that were just flat, glowing screens. He saw people walking down streets, all of them holding small black bricks to their ears.
What do you think about these new cell phones? Do you think they'll really stick around?
Honestly, I don't see it. It's just a fad for rich guys in suits.
We'll all be back to payphones by next year, trust me.
Cell phones? Like the giant one in Mr. Johnson's car? No, these were tiny, sleek. Then, the picture shifted. A perfect blue sky morning over a city he thought was New York. A plane, a passenger jet flying low, too low. It slammed into a skyscraper. Clint stopped breathing. He watched, horrified, as the tower belched fire and smoke. This was the most realistic special effect he had ever seen. It was seamless. It looked real. Before he could process it, a second plane appeared and hit the other tower. Oh my God. His voice was barely audible. The footage was raw, shaking. He could hear people screaming.
Oh my God, it's coming down! Run! Get back, everybody, get back!
Static. A man with dark skin, a black man, stood at a podium. President of the United States.
We will find the man responsible for this. That man is Osama bin Laden.
His voice was calm and steady, then more static across the screen. Then, war. Soldiers in desert uniforms. Night vision footage of green-hued explosions.
We begin with the ongoing conflict in Afghanistan. Tensions are high today after a series of insurgent attacks.
10 years into the conflict, the rugged mountains still pose the biggest challenge for coalition forces. The troops we're embedded with today are facing daily threats.
Another splash of static. People wearing masks. Not for Halloween. Hospital masks. Everywhere. In grocery stores, in parks, empty streets.
Global cases have now surpassed all previous peaks, though scientists are reporting progress on the vaccine front.
Static. The barrage stopped. The screen settled on a new, final scene. It looked like a home movie, a dark room lit by a single, dim lamp. A hand, a man's hand, pale, lifted a college-ruled notebook into the frame. The camera struggled to focus. Then the words snapped sharp. Handwritten text that said, "Rewind this tape now. If you don't, it all will happen. It will all come true, and they will know, and will come for you." The tape ended. The VCR clicked. The screen went to blue. Clint sat in the dark. The TV's blue light painted his stunned face. He let out a long, slow breath. Wow. He got up. His legs were stiff. He ejected the tape. He held it in his hand. The plastic now felt warm. Gable was right, he mumbled to himself. Weird as hell. The campy warning at the end. The legend building. It was brilliant. And those effects, those planes. It must have cost a fortune. It looked so real. The phone rang, jolting him. He grabbed the receiver on the wall. Hello? Clint? It's Mom. Hey, Mom, how are you? Doctors get any better up there at Portneuf Regional? He listened to her talk about her doctor's appointment, about the neighbor's yapping dog. He leaned against the wall, the tape still in his hand. His heart was finally slowing down. He chatted for 20 minutes. He promised to come by for dinner on Sunday, and hung up. He was tired. The movie. It was all a lot. He set the tape down on top of the VCR. He would rewind it in the morning before he took it back. He killed the lights. The apartment plunged into darkness. He fell into bed. Clint woke to the sound of a blaring car alarm. He squinted at the sunlight pouring through his blinds. 11:30 a.m. Saturday. Halloween. He shuffled to the kitchen, started a pot of coffee, and turned on the small TV on his counter. The local news anchor was on. Still no word on the cause of the explosion, but officials at the Idaho power plant are calling the turbine failure catastrophic. No injuries have been reported. Clint dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the linoleum, spattering his ankles with hot liquid. He did not feel it. He just stared at the screen, at the footage of the plant, at the smoke, the exact smoke plume, the exact mangled housing, October 31st, 1992. He said it softly. No. He ran to the VCR. The tape was sitting there, accusingly. It was real. He spent the next hour pacing his small apartment. His mind was a whirlwind. It was real. The plant. The tape. It was real, which meant Clinton would win on Tuesday, which meant the towers, the war, the masks. It was all real. Rewind this tape now. If you don't, it all will happen. He looked at the VCR. He could stop it. He could stop all of it. He could rewind the tape, and none of it would happen. He could save those people in the towers. He could stop that. That war. He could just hit rewind. He reached for the tape and paused. His hand hovered over the VCR. The plant explosion proved it. But what if he waited? What if he just waited until Tuesday? Just to be sure. Just to see Clinton win. If that happened, he would really know. He would have proof. And then what? A new thought, a cold, thrilling snake slithered into his mind. He could change the world by stopping these things. He could be a hero. He, Clint Mercer, a nobody, could be the most important person in the world. He could warn people. Maybe he could stop those planes the bin Laden guy crashed. He could be a hero. The world would know his name. He'd be famous. Or maybe he could place a bet on something from the tape. He could use it to make $1 million. Yeah, how could he give this up? The explosion could have been a coincidence. He needed to be 100% sure. He just needed to wait. He pulled his hand back. He would wait. Just until Tuesday. What harm could a few more days do? The decision settled over him, heavy as a shroud. As the sun began to dip below the Pocatello skyline, the apartment grew cold. Clint flicked on his lamp. The light seemed thin, watery. It did not reach the corners of the room. He rubbed his arms. The thrill of his decision was fading, replaced by a prickling unease. The sun set. His apartment was an island of light in the sea of October darkness. He was pouring himself a glass of water when he heard it. A voice. His ex-wife's.
Clint,
He froze, the glass halfway to his lips.
why is it so dark in here?
The voice was coming from the hall closet. He put the glass down. His hand was shaking so violently that water sloshed over the rim. "Sharon!" he called out. His voice was cracking. "Sharon, is that you? What are you... You're in Boise."
It's so dark in here. Why did you leave me?
He took a step toward the closet. The door was cracked open. An inch of perfect, impenetrable blackness. He reached for the knob. His heart was hammering.
I need to show you something in here. It's so dark.
From the kitchen behind him, a new voice. His mother. The voice had come from the shadows under the sink.
Clint. Oh, my sweet boy, I got stuck under here and need you to help me. Come a little closer. Be a good boy.
This was not real. He was having a breakdown. The tape. The shock. He was losing his mind. He backed away from the kitchen. His eyes darted between the closet and the shadows. He fumbled for the main light switch, the one by the door, and flicked it. The overhead light flared on, flooding the small apartment in harsh yellow light. The voices stopped. Silence. Clint stood panting in the middle of the room. His skin was clammy. Every light was on, the lamp, the overhead, the kitchen fluorescent, the small bulb over his bed. There was nowhere for a shadow to hide. He let out a shaky laugh. "Losing it? I'm just losing it." He sat on the couch, but he did not relax. He stared at the closet door. It was just a door. He stared at the kitchen. Just a kitchen. Then he heard it, a small skittering sound, like dry nails on hardwood. It came from under the couch. He froze. He was on the couch. He slowly, so slowly, lifted his feet onto the cushions. He sat there, curled up, staring at the floor. Skitter, skitter, scratch. He leaned over the edge. 2 points of light, no bigger than dimes, stared back at him from the darkness beneath the sofa. They were not reflecting the light. They were generating it. A cold, oily nickel shine.
Don't rewind the tape. Don't rewind the tape. Don't rewind the tape.
He jerked back. A small cry escaped his throat. And they will know, and will come for you. They were not coming to hurt him, he understood. They were not coming to stop him from watching. They were coming to stop him from rewinding. They were here to make sure it all happened. The towers, the war, the plague. They were guardians of the apocalypse. No! The word was a choked sob. He was not a hero. He was a fool, a pawn. He scrambled off the couch, landing on his feet, his back hitting the wall. The VCR was across the room. The tape was still on top of it. He had to rewind it. Right now. He lunged for the VCR. His hands grabbed the tape. He shoved it into the machine. The VCR whirred, pulling it in. He slammed his finger on the rewind button. The motor whined, and then clack, 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 chunk. A sound of gears stripping. A sound of fatal malfunction. The VCR went quiet. The small REW symbol on the display vanished. No, 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 no! Clint hammered the eject button. The VCR groaned in protest, then spat the tape out. It was mangled. A long, glistening loop of black tape, crumpled and torn, hung from the cassette's mouth like a dead tongue. His VCR had always been bad at rewinding. He'd always just paid the goddamn 25-cent fee to have Gable do it. He grabbed the cassette. The tape was snagged, ruined. He pulled, and the film stretched, thin and fragile. He tried to stuff it back in, but it was hopeless. The lights in the kitchen flickered. He looked up. The creatures under the couch were silent. But the shadows in the corners of the room, they seemed deeper now, thicker. Clack, 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 from the closet. He looked at the ruined tape in his hand. He was sobbing now. Quiet, terrified tears. He could not rewind it. It was over. He had failed. But wait, Gable's machine. The professional one. The one that was groaning but still worked. It could fix this. It had to. He ran to the kitchen drawer and pulled out a butter knife. He sat on the floor in the full glare of the overhead light. Frantically, with the knife's dull blade in his own thumb, he began to spool the crumpled tape back into the cassette. It was a mess. It was folded, creased, but it was in. He jammed the cassette into his jacket pocket. He grabbed his keys. He had to get to the store. He had to survive. He ran to the front door, his hand on the deadbolt. He opened it an inch and peeked out. His apartment was on the second floor, with an outdoor patio walkway. It was night. The walkway was dark, lit only by a single, flickering bulb 20 yards down. And in the darkness just past his doormat, they were out there, watching him with those silver eyes. He slammed the door shut, locking the deadbolt. His back was pressed against the wood. He could feel a coldness seeping through. He was not seeing them clearly, but his mind had taken a snapshot. 3 of them. Taller than men, but hunched, as if their bodies were folded wrong, skin like burnt parchment. And the eyes. He was trapped. He backed away from the door. They cannot hurt him in the light. He looked around his apartment. The light was his shield. But his car was out there, in the dark. And the store was a mile away. He had to survive the night. But the kitchen light flickered again. Bzzz, pop. It went out. The kitchen was plunged into darkness. And from that darkness he heard it. A wet, tearing sound. And a voice. His father's. A man dead 10 years.
I'm disappointed in you, Clint. I really am. Always have been.
Clint screamed. He grabbed a floor lamp, ripping the cord from the wall, and hurled it into the kitchen. It crashed against the cabinets. The main overhead light flickered. "No!" he yelled, staring at the bulb. "No, you don't!" They were draining the power. They were eating the light. He had to go. Now! He had to make a run for it. He grabbed his heaviest flashlight from the drawer, a big metal mag light. He found his Zippo and a cup of old pennies. He had the tape. He had his keys. He stood by the door. His heart felt like it would burst from his chest. They were right outside. He could hear them. A low, chittering whisper. He took a deep breath. Light. He flicked on the porch light switch. A horrific, multi-throated shriek came from the other side of the door. They recoiled. He saw them through the peephole. They had not vanished, but they had slid back into the deeper shadows at the edge of the walkway. Just beyond the cone of the single yellow bulb. It was his chance. He ripped the door open and sprinted. He was bathed in the porch light for 3 steps. Then, he was in the darkness of the walkway. He thumbed the mag light on. Its beam cut a sharp white circle in front of him. He ran. His feet pounded the concrete. The whispers were all around him. Reached the stairs. His car was 30 yards away, parked in a pool of shadow under a burnout streetlight. The worst spot. He took the stairs 2 at a time, hit the parking lot gravel, and ran. The flashlight beam bobbed, illuminating the pavement. The darkness on either side of the beam was alive. It pressed in. He heard a skittering behind him. He did not look back. He reached the car, fumbled for the key. His hand was slick with sweat. He could not get the key in the lock. A hand, cold as frozen meat and ending in long, jagged fingernails, grabbed his ankle. He yelled, kicked out, connecting with something that felt both hard and wet. He heard a crack. The hand was gone. He got the key in, unlocked the door, and threw himself inside. He slammed the door shut. He locked it. He was safe. For a second. He jammed the key in the ignition. Click, 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 click. Oh God, no, not now. Start. Start. He could see them in the beam of his flashlight, which he had dropped on the passenger seat. They were on the hood of the car. Contorted faces, too many joints, and the eyes all focused on him. He heard his ex-wife's voice right in his ear.
It's okay, Clint. Just give him the tape. It's better this way.
He hammered his fist on the dashboard. No! He tried the key again. The engine turned over. The headlights flashed on, bathing the creatures in 60,000 candle power. They screamed. It was not a human sound. It was the sound of static and grinding metal. They dissolved, boiling away like water on a hot skillet, evaporating into oily smoke. He threw the car into reverse, squealed out of the parking spot, and sped onto the street. His whole body was shaking. He looked in the rearview mirror. He saw only his own terrified eyes. He was halfway to the store when the dome light went out. And in the rearview mirror, for one heart-stopping second, he saw a face in the back seat. All nickel-shine eyes and a jagged hole for a mouth. He screamed, swerving, and slammed on the brakes. He twisted, lashing out with the flashlight. It hit the empty seat. There was nothing there. He sat in the middle of the road, the car idling. He had to get to Gable. He drove the rest of the way, his eyes flicking to the mirror every 2 seconds. The streets were empty. Pocatello was asleep, having no idea what was clawing at the edges of its reality. He saw the flick pick sign. It was off. The store was dark. No, he can't be gone. He slammed the car into park and ran to the glass front door. He ignored the shadows in the alley. He pounded on the glass. Mr. Gable, please. The store was black. He was too late. He had failed. Then, a light from the back room. The door opened, and Mr. Gable's sleepy, annoyed face appeared. Clint? What in God's name are you doing? It's 2 a.m. Gable hit the main lights. The store flooded with brilliant, beautiful, safe, fluorescent light. The tape! Clint yelled, pressing his face to the glass. The tape! I have to rewind it. Please! Gable, seeing the sheer animal terror on Clint's face, did not argue. He fumbled with his keys and unlocked the door. Clint stumbled in, collapsing against the counter. His legs gave out. He was safe. The light was everywhere. He looked out the front window. Across the street, in the dark alley between the bakery and the law office, they were watching. Just standing there, waiting. Clint, you look like you've seen a ghost, Gable said, locking the door behind them. Worse, Clint panted. He pulled the mangled cassette from his pocket and slammed it on the counter. My VCR. It ate it. It's crumpled. Can you fix it? Can you rewind it? Gable picked up the tape. His professional calm took over. He pulled at the loop of ruined film. Oh, son. You've mangled this one good. This is a mess. You have to, Clint pleaded, his voice low. Please, Mr. Gable. You have to rewind it. All the way. To the beginning. Gable looked from the tape to Clint's white, sweating face and back again. I'll see what I can do. He took the tape into the back room. Clint was left alone. He stood by the front window, a sentinel, watching the shadows across the street. They did not move. They just waited. He heard the sounds of Gable working, clicks, then a new sound. The high-pitched whine of a professional-grade rewinder. Clint closed his eyes. Relief washed over him, so strong it almost buckled his knees. It was working. Gable came out, wiping his hands on a rag. It's going. I had to splice it, but the machine caught it. But this tape. He walked over, standing next to him, looking out the window. I don't know what it is. It feels wrong. When I touched the film, it felt cold, like deep cold. I know, Clint said. They stood in silence. The only sound in the world was the beautiful shrieking whine of the tape rewinding. It seemed to go on for an hour. Then it stopped. A loud, final click. Clint looked across the street. The shadows in the alley were gone. They had not run. They had not faded. They were just gone, as if they had never been. Gable came out of the back room holding the tape. It looked normal again. "It's done," he said. He handed it to Clint. It was just a piece of plastic. It was light. It was harmless. Clint's hands were shaking as he took it. "What do I do with it?" Gable looked at him, his gaze heavy. "Some movies aren't meant to be seen, Clint. And some. Maybe they're not meant to be at all." Dawn was just starting to show itself on the horizon as Clint parked his car at the overlook, far below the sound of the Snake River as it poured from the dam that held back the American Falls Reservoir. A thin mist rose to his face from below. Warmth from the first hint of sun fell upon him, and he was grateful for it. Grateful to be alive. He walked to the concrete railing, the wind whipping his jacket. He held the tape in his hand and looked at the cursed object that found him. The VHS tape with Rewind written on the label. All that power. All that knowledge. All that horror. He could be a hero. He could be a nobody. He looked at the tape, at the promise of saving the world, and at the memory of nickel-shine eyes and the sound of his dead father's voice. He now knew that evil was a real thing, and that we have no idea of what's going on behind the scenes of our existence. But he knew one thing for sure. He was a nobody in this life, and he was now grateful for it. With all his strength, he heaved the tape. It sailed out, end over end, a tiny black speck against the growing light. It hit the water far below without a sound, the rapids below roaring. It vanished beneath the churn of the dark waters. The sun broke over the horizon, painting the water in gold. Today was November 1st, 1992. In a few weeks, Bush would defeat Clinton, and the history he saw would be reset. He had changed it back by rewinding the tape. Today marked a new start for him, a new start for the world. What was on this tape would never happen. He just made sure of that. He was a hero, even if he was the only one who would ever know it. Clint Mercer stood in the light, alone, breathing in the cold, clean air. He turned his back to the reservoir and walked to his car. He had to go. He'd promised his mom he'd come for dinner. Two weeks later. "Hey, Mikey!" Look at this. The boy, 15, brushed the sand off and held it up for the other boy to see. Mikey arrived overweight and panting. "It's just some old tape. You made me run all the way over to show me some river garbage, probably just some kid's birthday party or something." The other boy smiled wide. "Someone threw it in the river. Maybe there is something secret on it. Let's watch it." Later that night, the boys played the tape. They were both disappointed. Not an action movie. No secrets they were not supposed to see caught on a home movie camera. Just a bunch of news and static. Artsy-fartsy crap. Mikey threw the VHS tape in the kitchen garbage and the boys started playing a video game. Two eyes blinked on in the darkness under the old fridge. That was Rewind, written and performed by the author, me, James Cawley. We think of fate as a single, solid line. But perhaps it's more like a river. You can build a dam. You can reroute the water. You can even stand in it and celebrate as the current parts around you. But the water's nature is to flow, and it will always find a new path to the sea. But the horror on that tape wasn't an event. It was a force. And a force of nature doesn't care about a single man, a single VCR, or a single piece of tape. It only cares about arriving at its destination. All it needs is for someone, somewhere, to press play. My name is James Cawley, and you're listening to Dust and Echoes. If you like stories like this, stories that find cosmic dread in our own nostalgia, stories about ordinary people brushing up against an evil so patient it feels inevitable, then you're in the right place. I'm glad we found you. I release a new original story in cinematic audiobook format every single week, right here. And I think you'll love the next story. And until next time, remember this. Things we throw into the dark to be forgotten are not gone. They are still there, waiting for new hands to find them.